Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spectro chat. I am Christian.
I'm Jacob.
I'm Mitch.
Okay, good. I'm sorry, what?
And there's Chris. And today we will be talking about gaming, and more specifically digital gaming. So computers, consoles, stuff like that.
Yes. That thing he said.
Yeah. So I love, me personally, I love gaming. I haven't been able to do it a whole lot lately, just between work and my son and family and dog and all that fun stuff. I haven't had time, but I love it. But with a lot of newer games, it's getting harder and harder to see.
Yeah.
That's debatable.
Well,
with some titles, they're tending to go for like a darker aesthetic, such as Monster Hunter World. I had a lot of trouble with. I don't know if that was just with my specific brand of RP or what. I could not tell where the hell I was going.
And for me, I was just thinking about just like all the bright colors, because for me, I have issues with distinguishing colors. And I play a lot of first-person shooters. That's more of my speed.
Mm-hmm.
And when I played Halo, there are certain maps on Halo, like Halo 4, Halo 5. Oh, right. Content. Anyways, Halo 5 is awful. And Halo 4, there are some maps I can't play because they force you to be red or blue team. And when everything around you is blue, like I can't see it. And it's just like,
So, my stance on it is I kind of don't agree, because what I've noticed is, certain games might get more visual, and here's the problem: if you're going to play a first-person shooter, if you're playing an FPS, odds are it's going to be very hard to see stuff. It's just going to be. But they're not going to make an FPS accessible because it's not really meant for a blind person. Okay,
right. And
I mean, even going back to the days of a 7-year-old game like Skyrim. I mean, going back even Oblivion. If you have, and I actually state this many times in the Spectrum Plays episodes, is shout outs to Spectrum Plays, go watch that. Is if you're playing an RPG or an FPS or any game, you should be wearing a headset because those games are built with a surround sound system to where it's, even if you don't have a crazy good headset that follows the sound. Jacob,
I don't have that. Yeah.
Well, I haven't. I can play Skyrim with ease because I'm able to hear stuff from all sides, which makes it easier to traverse, say, a dungeon that has such good ambient sounds that, even if you're maybe not a total, but if you're low vision, you can still make your way through a game like that. Maybe not necessarily super easy, but relatively easy, I'd say, if you just go by sound, not necessarily by sight.
Go ahead, Jacob.
No, I was just saying that is a place in which Bethesda excels, is their ambience.
Yeah, not every game does that.
And but, as I was saying with Monster Hunter World, the place I got stuck was actually in the freaking tutorial. I never even got to your home base because I landed in like a clearing, I guess, in a forest. And the person I was following ran somewhere, and all the colors are so like brown and green everywhere, even on the people's armor, or at least it's dark enough that they blended in, that her yelling at me to follow her didn't work.
I getcha.
Like the sound was just not useful. In fact, it was even distracting because there was also little creatures chasing me, and I can't have a weapon yet, so I couldn't actually kill them.
Sure.
So sound can also work against you, even if you have a good headset.
Yeah. And that's also not including people like me who are more casual gamers and do console.
Well, it actually could if you had when I had a PS4, I don't
Mhm.
now obviously, but back when I had a PS4, I had a Turtle Beach. They weren't called Turtle Beaches outright, but that's what they were. They were
Oh,
just
I
they
can
were called
offer.
Sound Ninja was the company,
Mhm.
and good headset. I have
Mhm.
no complaints. It kind of hurt my ears a little bit to wear them for too long, but good sound, good sound quality. Um, but I could play those games again. Skyrim. I had Skyrim on every console I ever had when it came out. So, which is only 3, by the way. So, um,
PC, Xbox, and PlayStation.
yeah. If you want to count, well, actually, I had PS3.
PS3.
I don't count PC as console because it's not not to get all master race, but I mean, come on.
That's a different subject. We can.
It's a whole other set of situations. Anyways, um, not to talk ears off with Skyrim, but I mean that game. When I played that, and I'll just say not only that, but a game like, say, the Batman Arkham games, I played with a headset, and those were exceptional with the sound. Arkham Knight was particularly good when you were up on top of buildings and you had to listen out for people talking with your headset. Because Batman would listen to like radio chatter, and you could dive bomb gangs of dudes from the skyscrapers, dive down onto them, and I could play that game. I still do. I have it for PC. People hate it on PC. I kind of don't know why, because it's actually pretty good. They say it's glitchy, but they must have fixed it over the years, because I think it's good. But even on console, even on PS4, when I played that, the sound was excellent. And I think it's just a thing a lot of companies, yeah, Bethesda might be one of the best as far as it goes, but I think a lot of companies are kind of moving into that where they're not doing it for blind people. Don't get it the
Yeah.
wrong way. They're not
Yeah.
doing it for us.
Yeah.
They're not doing it for you. They're just doing it because
Well,
it sounds better.
surround
a lot of
sound is
the-
nice.
Yeah,
And a lot of the
because
FPS
it sounds real. It sounds more real, and that's why they do it. But when it sounds real is when it sounds good for us, and that's when it's helpful for us.
And a lot of the FPSs I play have fantastic audio, but I was just talking one of the problems I have with FPSs, and I usually for FPSs I will say I play more of the standard Call of Duty, Call of Duty, and Halo for the
I'm
most part.
sorry.
Yeah.
Just because there isn't really a huge line of FPSs out there. Like there's a few.
Battlefield.
Battlefield. I played Bad Company 2. That was a great game.
There's a ton of FPSs.
Oh, yeah,
Here's the deal. I'd say even now, obviously it comes into cost, because obviously what it all comes down to is having a good headset ultimately.
Well, if specifically for the sound, or having a surround setup in your room.
Oh, that would. I don't remember what his name was, but here's how good it even gets is way back in the late 90s, Nintendo came out with the Nintendo 64 96. Okay, they came out with a little game. Maybe you heard of it. It's called Ocarina of Time. Okay.
Oh yes.
That game has surround sound.
Oh yeah, surround sound's been around for a long time.
I've watched a video of a Total, and he's got this surround sound setup in like around his couch, to where he was able to play that game 100% through. Yeah. he was able to play that 100% through. So obviously, and now this is Nintendo, and they're just revolutionary because they're cool like that. They're not cool with some. They're very draconian with some things, but you know what? As far as revolutionary goes, they got that on lock. So that is Nintendo. But it wasn't just Ocarina of Time. Mario 64 did it. Almost all of their games. Star Fox didn't really have that surround system, but a lot of their games did. And that's the point that I try to make is, it's not just new age games. You can play old games too.
Yeah, and I noticed that as far as like visually goes, a lot of older games are a lot easier to play.
Look, I love the classics, man.
Well,
I love the classics.
I think the reason
I'll never stop playing them.
The reason for them being slightly easier to see is one,
Low res.
It's not as much color palette. It's
they had a restricted color palette, so that, like, especially with Nintendo games, they tended to be brighter. Except for Ocarina of Time, that was sort of a darker game for them.
They did residual backgrounds to where it was more like painted on.
Well, yeah. Interesting fact about Ocarina of Time, and probably Mario 64 as well. I don't know. That might be after that time, but all of the backgrounds for Ocarina of Time is one 2-dimensional image. Which is kind of freaky to think about when you go back and then play the game.
Yeah, it's nuts. Ocarina of Time, hey, one of the very first games that actually gave you the first-person view. The N64 nailed that with a lot of their games. Yeah. You could go back and forth from third to first. You couldn't do anything in first in Ocarina of Time besides shoot a bow or a hook shot or something like that. But, that's not the point where I'm making here. The point I'm trying to push forward is Mitch dead? Okay. The point I'm trying to push forward is that I'm cool with games. Now, I'm kind of fortunate in the fact that I have a little bit more sight, but I primarily play my games. I'll sit back and I'll cruise as long as I can hear it. Whether it's Mortal Kombat, a fighter like that, because their sounds are amazing too, or it's, an old 2D game like Vector Man. Shout outs if you know Vector Man. None of you do.
Nope.
I'm already back. It's an old Sega game. But the point is, I feel like if you just have a good set of ears, then, it's some games are going to be impossible. Dark Souls, not going to be easy. Not because you can't hear it, just that takes vision, no matter what. Hands down, that takes vision.
And are always the right setup. Like, I had a really awesome starting character. Took me like 3.
Good for you. You didn't last, did you?
5 hours to get through the first boss.
Well, and then, that's a different story. That's a barrier to entry issue that game had.
But it's just a difficult series of games.
I changed characters, and I was able to get through everything in like 10 minutes.
Right. Well, that's not about accessibility. That's just you sucking.
Well, moving away from sound, because whether or not a game is playable with just sound, I am just, and this sucks for me because of my blindness, I'm a visual person. Like when I read a book, I like to see it. When I'm playing a game, I like to be able to see stuff. That's just unfortunately how I'm hardwired.
Right.
So when developers go for an aesthetic that is on purpose dark and gloomy, Ocarina of Time did do that, but they managed to keep it in a way that you could still tell what was happening. It was
still bright.
Yeah.
Like the Shadow Temple was still...
you could still see
that
it.
temple gave the impression of it's dark as hell in here, but you could see, obviously there was some residual light, so you could still like see your way around. Maybe Navi was lighting your path or something. I don't know. But it was still bright.
Yeah, you could tell what was happening. Unlike and I'll go ahead and use Skyrim here because it does happen in some dungeons. There's ways around it with light spells and stuff like that I always have.
Oh yeah. Some areas.
But some of the areas are they're pitch black.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately in that game, that is due to the environment that you're in, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
But some games, it's the entire game. Like, it's just impossible to play and see what's happening.
Yeah,
And
sure.
and for me, it's not necessarily like light or dark. It's just colors.
Yeah, like they use like a
like
muted tone to make everything seem kind of bleak.
Well,
Well,
I was
no, I'm
gonna.
talking
What?
about like
There was
for
that-
example, the best way I can kind of describe it is for what's it called? For Twilight Princess, how they started doing like the really bright like
Are we just going to talk about Zelda and Skyrim? Is that all it's going to be?
I
Well,
wanted
I
to
was-
mention.
Oh, hang
And
on.
Dark Souls a little bit.
Hang on, Mitch.
There's other games, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, I
I'm
was
sorry. I
just
pushed the Skyrim
you
so
would-
heavy.
that you would know. But in Twilight Princess, how like there was super like bright reflective light, like light off the water, reflecting off the water, or light reflecting off a person.
But that's just a lot of games that do that, though.
Yeah, and I was
You
just
want
like,
a game that looks,
yeah.
Wait, so you're saying you like that or you don't like that?
I have a lot of problems with lighting issues like that.
sure.
Does it-
that
does
are
it-
just
you're, like-
super bright.
It-
what they call natural lighting, natural colors.
Yeah, it like
to make it
draws
look
your
like
eyes
real.
to the.
Yeah.
I think the issue you're referring to is lens flare.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes,
I wanted to mention.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, I wanted to mention that. I know it's not very popular,
get to
but
the point.
Fallout 4 actually
Oh,
has settings that allow you to change
Well,
the
that's-
color schemes of certain menus of your
Oh
game.
yeah, you can change actually all
That's
of
just
the
a
menu.
Bethesda thing, though, Mitch.
Well,
Like
no,
they.
you can't
they're pretty
change
good
the
on that.
menu scheme in the Elder Scrolls series.
Oh, okay.
Although the one
Wait,
in
wait a
Skyrim
second.
is quite nice with the light text and the dark.
I was gonna say, I could have sworn you can.
No, you can
Change
change the
stuff.
opacity of the heads-up display, but not the colors themselves of the menu.
Okay, yeah. all right.
Which I have found that that is one thing I will say about Fallout is that was a thing since at least Fallout 3 when Bethesda took over the series. You've been able to change it since then. I'm pretty sure, 90% sure. Which is just a nice feature, just be able to change the color of the heads-up display. You couldn't change the background color. You can only change the light of it, which was just green is not a very pleasant color to my eyes. So being able to change it to something
that's why
else.
I went with I have like a soft baby blue on the one I have, which
Yeah,
kind of
actually-
just definitely just makes it way
I
more.
know for me, RPGs are hard because there's a lot of reading. I love
Yes.
RPGs.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
the only reason I can play Skyrim so good is just because I played it so much. And I have a friend who I've played the games with growing up who just read me everything. So I'm like, yeah, I know it all.
yeah, like
And that's great for you, but like for me, like for some things I didn't have to read, like in the original Fable, which was my first introduction.
Oh, snap. Gonna play that, by the way.
mm,
We're gonna have a playthrough of that. I am. Not
but,
these.
but for the original Fable,
Look out for that one.
there wasn't a whole lot of reading.
Spectro plays.
Maybe a little bit for the weapons and going through the like menus, but everything was pictures, so you could see the weapons that you wanted, and
mhm.
you could tell,
Yeah,
like,
it had a nice menu. You couldn't zoom in on it or anything, but it had, and that was the good thing because it circled it in for you. It was
yeah,
inside
yeah.
of a ring.
The image
Yeah.
for whatever you're
On
looking
the
at
right
was always in a big
Text was on the
circle.
left. It was like you were looking at a book.
Yeah.
It was split in half, and so on the left was your lists of whether it was armor, easy to navigate through with the shoulder buttons,
mhm.
and you could actually spin it with the right stick. I don't know if many people actually knew that, but you could spin the weapon or the armor around to look at it
Well,
better.
that's a classic RPG.
and then if you click the thumbstick,
But that's Fable, though. That came out
2004.
Yeah, it came out a while ago. So Fable was actually pretty revolutionary with the RPGs.
Well, it was revolutionary.
There was a lot of
maybe-
stuff that they promised that didn't happen in the game that people didn't like, but it was a really good, well-made game.
Well, that's
Graphics,
the first-
a little cartoony looking, but I'm cool with that. I was cool with
I'm
that.
actually a fan of like stylized.
I like the
graphics.
art. I like the art style. It's nice.
But
And one thing I really liked about it too is if you look at all the other RPGs that came out, that was the first game that actually had a good evil system.
and you could get people drunk.
Yeah, that was funny.
But since we
Just
are on,
hand people beers and they'd get wasted. After like 2 beers, it's like, wow.
since we are on the topic of RPGs and the UI, lots of reading.
Also, good sound system.
And this is a problem I noticed specifically, at least it was most prevalent in Dragon Age Origins, was that they didn't scale the UI properly to higher resolutions. So when you scaled Dragon Age Origins up to 2K, the UI got ridiculously tiny. It wasn't screwy. It was clean, but it was tiny.
Oh, okay.
It was minuscule. At least to me, it was minuscule.
You know, I don't want to forget it. Actually, I want to hop right back to Fable, because Fable actually did something that was really actually kind of revolutionary too. And it wasn't the play style, it was what you could do. And one of their mechanics, which it was a tool system, is if you press the right stick while walking around, you could pull up in the very center of the screen your map.
Oh, I love that.
It showed where you were as an arrow, and you could walk. If you were visually impaired, you could just follow that map exactly, watching your arrow and where you were going. And fights, enemies would show up as shadowed circles. And if you saw them coming at you, you could be like, oh man, battle's coming. Let me get out of the map, fight. When the fight's done, keep moving. And you'd see all characters shadowed in as different types of circles, whether they were enemies or like good guys. I think good guys were like pink circles. Like allies were like pink or blue circles. I'm colorblind, so it was hard to tell with those. But that was a fantastic system that I don't see any game doing that, actually.
Battlefront 2 had
Skyrim. No, Mitch, you're not listening. Like Fable, you could pull it up to where it was in the center of your screen. You could see it easy, and you could just move around while it was going. Battlefront 2 has the map in a corner.
Well, no,
most games have that map where it's in the corner, and it's almost impossible to see. Fable would pull it up huge so you could see it easy. That was the thing about Fable that I really liked visually, was you could really see what you were doing in that game when you were playing it. I still have it, and whenever I play it, I personally just permanently have that up, so I just follow that map always. Sometimes I take it off when I'm in a town or something that I know, so I don't need to do it. But yeah, it's super helpful. Super helpful.
Well, unfortunately, that is time.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get back to this. We got more to talk about with the gamings and what's nots, what have yous. So, and ladies and gentlemen, if you like that, like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely comment. What's your opinion on games? What do you think? What's your favorite game? Just Just say whatever. I don't care. Just
and it doesn't even.
How was your day?
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be a console game or.
We're not prejudiced.
Yeah, just
I mean, it could be a really good accessible
Mitch.
text adventure game on the phone. Because hey, I think I talked about one in a previous video we did called Time Crest. That is fantastic.
That hasn't been put up, so nobody knows about that.
Oh, awkward. Well, that might get put up at some point.
It will. But yeah, nobody knows about that, so yeah, we'll talk. This is going to be a series that we're doing. So, I mean, this is a series, but it's like this is going to be one of our mini series: gaming, board games, digital apps, games.
I think we'll call the series Gaming
mobile
Blind.
games.
What do you think?
I'll call it. I'm going to hit you with a pipe.
Oh.
No.
Boss threatening his workers. How do you like that?
Okay, Bowser.
Bowser didn't threaten anybody. Bowser doesn't even threaten Mario, really. He's just like,
yeah, it was a video I watched. Never mind. I'll show it to you later.
I've probably already seen it. But if it's Super Mario Ball Z, I've seen it.
That sounds silly. But,
it's hilarious. Yeah. Anyways, like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us what you think. What's your favorite game of all time? What's your favorite game? Mine's Skyrim, hands down.
I think they realize that.
Oh, no, they don't. Let me tell you something. You listening, you don't even know the depths of my enjoyment for that game. That game, I'm not going to say it saved my life, but you know what? It got me back into gaming when I was starting to fall out of it. Oh, man. Got a lot to thank to that game. And a lot to curse about that game because I put a lot of money into that game. Anyways. All right. We'll talk to you in the next one. We'll hit you back. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself. Till then, peace out.
Peace.
Later.
Have a good one, guys.